Hello and welcome to the CHRO Club. I'm delighted to introduce my guest for this session, Vikram Bector. He is the President and CHRO of Piramal Group. Vikram, I'd like to start by asking you, given that Piramal is a diversified conglomerate and today we have agile business models, how are you enabling reshaping of business models to penetrate new markets and cast a wider net for new age customers?
So first of all, very warm welcome, Pooja, to our office, and thank you for hosting me. On a lighter note, I think for you to assume that HR can shape business models, you're giving us far too much power than we have. Yet I think what we can rightfully take credit for is first to understand the forces which are shaping change, and also making sure that our employees, leaders are able to cope with the change, and not only that, certainly in the case of leaders, accelerate the change so that we are all prepared to leverage all the benefits that the market, the new customers have to offer. So in that sense, this organization, our Piramal Group, is a very agile and nimble organization. We have over the last 40 years, with deep agility, morphed from one shape into the other. And I dare say if you were to meet us tomorrow, you may not be meeting the same Piramal because some things would have changed. But having said that, I think over the last 40 years, this is a company which has moved from textiles to pharma to real estate to financial services, within financial services, multiple businesses. So I think clearly our role is to make sure we respond quickly to the change. I dare say no company is ever fast enough because the business responds much faster. But having said that, I think you see our group has really evolved right from the leadership, the philosophy, the business principles, and all the employees therefore accepting and working with the change. So I think our role is there.
Interesting. I really like the way you say that tomorrow is going to be different. So it is good when leaders are so geared up to changing so rapidly. Next I'd like to ask you that, like you said, you've got financial services and then you've got pharma and realty as individual business houses. So how do you ensure that these individual businesses have an identity of their own, yet they align with the overall vision of the group?
I think it's both an easy and a difficult answer. The easy part is that we are all guided by the Piramal Group purpose. Our purpose is doing well and doing good. So it is actually beautiful in its simplicity because it encourages each business to do financially well so that we can do good for the society. So really in terms of common principles, that's what is common. We want all our businesses, irrespective of the sector, to do financially well so we can really fulfill our obligation, fulfill what we need to do for our society and our planet. So that's those are some of our purpose. So our values are common across the group, but each business unit then chooses what it wants to accentuate. For example, our pharma business because it demerged about a year ago, its leaders have chosen 3 sets of cultural priorities which are very unique to its business strategy. It's all linked to the business strategy. Whereas if you go to our retail finance business, the group ethos, the values, purpose remains the same. But our retail finance business, as an example, have picked up 11 principles that they'd like to focus on to drive business to be more customer centric. So therefore, it's that fine balance between a few central elements and a lot of choice of freedom for businesses to pick some things which are unique, because each of our businesses are unique.
So as a group CHRO, when you are devising a hiring strategy, it cannot be same for pharma as well as for the financial services. So how are you ensuring and how are you managing that, micro business induced strategy versus, overall strategy?
I think the first thing is to embed very competent teams within the business. So we have very competent teams of HR within the business who are responding to the needs of the business. They are sitting near site whether it is in the US, in Canada, UK, or in India. So that's our first part of our strategy, that people who are nearer the ground, are connected with the business, they take the right calls. Having said that, I think let's understand that the basic needs of the businesses are the same. For example, each of our businesses have to connect with the campuses and connect with the youth, because in India, for example, we speak about the demographic dividend. And if we are not connected with campuses, with colleges, with engineering schools, with pharmacy schools, with business schools, then that we'll be missing a lot of connections with the talent, because the buyers and the employees are coming from the same ethos. So therefore, campus is a big part of our strategy, and connection with the right campuses. As it concerns the lateral talent, that's where uniqueness comes, because that's where we also need to appeal to talent in the pharma sector, especially globally, because pharma is a global business. Similarly, all the lateral talent in financial services. So I find that some strategies are common. For example, you really need to have a strong connect with the campus. So there we follow a common model of how do we go and approach campuses, and pretty successful there. And whereas there is a sectoral strategy as it comes to senior level hiring. And I think in an ideal world, we don't have to hire outside if all our talent is homegrown. So we are also focusing a lot on pipeline development, leadership development, developing our own, growing our own timber, if you will.
So if you can share one point of differentiation that you are being able to make when you are hiring laterally for, let's say, pharma or financial services to get the best talent from your competitors?
Very, very pertinent question. If you talk about pharma talent, it's a global business. I think let me connect you to why customers come to us. Customers come to us because we are able to really integrate and give them an offering. In case of our competitors, they may have to go to 4 different pharma companies, whereas we, for example, we give them what we call integrated services. So our research and development may happen in India, a pilot level manufacturing may happen in UK, but the full scale, full batch manufacturing may happen in the US. So that's an example of an integrated service. And therefore, when we attract people to our business, you will rarely find multi-locational businesses like ours where a talent, or a senior leader has the opportunity to influence a manufacturing plant in India, in UK, in United States. So I think for us, we are finding that our global way of doing business, the global nature of our business is very appealing. And the same thing for sales professionals as an example. We are present in 100 countries. So I think the global nature of our business, people find it very attractive, because let me be honest with you, when you look at a lot of pharma talent, they are either predominantly in United States if they are front facing and facing customers with very little exposure to Europe. Here we have talent which is based and is exposed to multiple countries. So that is a very unique benefit. On the financial services side, Pooja, what we've seen is what is unique to us. Why do people join Piramal? 2 or 3 things. One is we are growing very, very rapidly. So as the tide rises, so do the boats. So really people join us because of the growth. The second is we are very, very good with starting off new models of doing business. So digital, for example, if somebody wants to join from a fintech to us to see how an NBFC is keeping a digital model front and center of acquiring customers or fulfilling customer needs, so that's happening. The third is products. We are virtually every quarter launching new products. So therefore, growth, tech, and again, new product development. Those are some reasons people say, we really love your company. And of course, the biggest one is culture. We started with that. You asked me that question. People love us for our culture, for the way our leaders are accessible, for the way people get to make decisions, for the way overall they've seen themselves grow.
Vikram, today HR is a force for business outcome and growth. Because data driven by HR tech is enabling business decisions. So how are you as a CHRO of this conglomerate enabling business decisions through data?
I think the first thing we are doing is to make sure Excel dies. And I hope no Microsoft people are listening to this, but clearly what I meant is that how we do not allow email exchange with Excel sheets. So data will not and should not flow over emails. So people have to be able to generate data and consume data right from the dashboards and our data lake. So today we are very happy to say that for the last 6 years, including in the HR function, we've been pretty data rich. So all our data, all our processes are digitized, and therefore we are able to manipulate, leverage the data. And on the business side, again, multiple test cases. The one that immediately comes to my mind is how we've been able to shift the efficiency, effectiveness of our sales staff who are working with retailers in our consumer products business, just because we have timely data. So actually today, before you enter a retailer, if you are if you're clued into your handheld device, it'll exactly tell you what's the stock level at the stockist, which are the products which are in short supply, which are the products that the stockist did not buy last month. So therefore our salespeople, because of that live data, are able to be more effective. And I'd say HR has had some role to play on the business side, and also on training, on creating the right ecosystem, even hiring people who are more savvy to look at data and use it and consume it.
So you mentioned about culture, but I want you to, give me some more insights on the DNA of the Piramal culture.
Sure. I think for us, I've spoken to you about our purpose of doing well and doing good. We also have our 4 values of knowledge, action, care, and impact. I think the key thing, Pooja, and the seriousness really is how we approach these things. I think so. We are no different from any other organization in how we've defined our values, how we've communicated. But I think somewhere where we are different is how we've actually lived them through our various processes in HR. And let me share a few examples. So as you look at all the processes in HR, and since that's what I'm accountable for, from hire to retire, we leverage our values, in all of these. So distilled from our values are certain behaviors called Piramal success factors. So we expect, when we are recruiting people, we recruit according to those success factors. We also do psychometric assessment for senior leaders, which is to see whether they are living those values, they are aligning with those values. So I would say right from the very top, whether it's leaders taking feedback or it's our processes from hiring, performance management, talent management, high potential assessment, and even recognition. Those are the ways in which we are trying to ensure these values are embedded. And I think we also take a lot of feedback from people if people see us living those values, because this is one thing that external reputation also plays a part. So every now and then when you scan what people talk about in Glassdoor and other media, you'll figure out that we are recognized as a place which places premium on values. So that's been our journey. That's how we try to embed values in whatever we do.
So one is the organizational culture, the other is the team culture. So there are micro cultures getting formed in teams within India, globally also. How do you align and make sure they are all within the ethos of the brand?
I think first of all, this control, the illusion of a control is deceptive. I think we don't believe that you can be completely homogenized. I think that's not being respectful to the country, respectful to the the particular subsystem. So I think the first thing is to understand what those cultures are, and there we do a fairly decent job in continuously looking at dipsticks about the culture. Having said that, I think the intervention happens only if you find something is really out of whack, because there's more time spent on getting the right leaders, propagating the right set of values, propagating expectations, like I said, leveraging the Piramal success factor framework through training, hand-holding, etc. And quite honestly, it's an acknowledgement of differences that makes us who we are, because each geography brings a certain set of values. So we also learn from each other, at the same time trying to just understand where everybody stands within the overall framework which I spoke to you about, the 4 values. So that's our response really, rather than trying to make sure that every widget or every person looks the same, which is not what our diversity policy is all about. We want to acknowledge and embrace and actually celebrate that diversity.
So, you stole my thought talking about diversity. We are in the month of June and it's the Pride month. We celebrate D&I this month. So what are the charters of your diversity strategy?
For us, actually, it's DIBA. So, we coined an acronym. Each company has its own. So for us, it's diversity, it's inclusion, belongingness, and of course, accessibility. So DIBA is our overall guiding philosophy, and within that, I spoke to you about respect. Each geography is working on a different charter. For example, gender, which is so big for India, is certainly also a priority for us. But if you go to the United States and Canada, there, gender is we're already very well represented. In fact, as a matter of fact, outside of India, almost 35 to 37% of our workforce is women. Across businesses, across functions, and we're very grateful for that, whereas there is gender related work in India. So clearly so each geography has a different focus area, and that's what we want to do. We work with the leaders to create those focus areas. I think today what's also needed in India, for example, one form of diversity is the non-English speaking but very intelligent men and women. Are we connecting with that? So you'll find that our campus programs are also to connect or include, people who are extremely intelligent, but not from, maybe from vernacular medium. So we have actually, as a matter of fact, this month hired 600 such people all over the country. And of course, we are looking at something meaningful and specific for each of our, our countries, whether it's US, Canada, UK. And I find, of course, Pride month, honestly, it is more about generating that comfort. If you ask me personally, the lever that I'm looking at in Pride month is how many people in the next couple of months are going to come out and feel comfortable that Piramal is a place which allows me to be myself. And that's happening through a series of detailed, training programs for managers, for leaders, as also, a bit of challenging our own mindsets about, are we really a place which is, inclusive? You might also be surprised to know that in terms of gender, our high potential programs, as a matter of fact, we have more women who are part of the high potential program as compared to the percentage of women in the workforce, which means, I don't know if there's a word called positive discrimination or positive bias. We certainly have, good positive inclusion of women in our high potential programs. Similarly, strong representation in many other cases. So even promotions, I dare say that, from a data perspective, more women are getting promoted. I wonder why. Obviously their diligence, their hard work, their understanding of the business, and a few other factors.
You mentioned about demographic dividend. So today, tech, remote working and gig economy is shaping up in such a way that talent strategy is getting disrupted. So how are you leveraging this?
I think the answer is to have strategies for all of the above. Today we have a lot of, programs where we see if we can bring in more gig workers, including women, as a part of our programs. So I think any talent strategy which is not inclusive is not going to be successful. Another thing to include is also bots. Today, what bots can do, humans can, obviously do it, but it will take some more time. So we are also finding newer, allies in terms of, bots and what repetitive work can be done. So I think clearly between humans and machines, we need, and humans, as you said, full-time employees, part-time employees, gig workers, we need all of them. And today I believe we are running a good kind of strategy to straddle all these segments, including, like I said, using bots and technology to aid and ease human effort.
Clearly, you mentioned the value that Piramal stands for. So that brings me to talking about the Piramal Foundation. So how is Piramal Foundation impacting the socio-economic firmament of the country?
Today in our Piramal Foundation, we have 3,500 odd people, our employees are employed in the Piramal Foundation working on big bets. These are all people where we are trying to solve India's tough socio-economic problems, whether it's to do with education, children's education, nutrition, tribal health, women and child health, and trying to transform the way we can in our lives. Our foundation folks work with the district administration, wield very little power, and yet are able to influence people there for successful outcomes. So we are learning influencing without power from our folks in our foundation. And how are we trying to contribute from our corporate side? I think through multiple ways, whether it's to enable the technologies, because they're always a little resource stretched, and also through our volunteering, where our employees spend a lot of time in specific areas.
Today, every organization is a learning organization, and every brand needs to stack skills. They need to provide cross-career growth opportunities to the talent to retain them. They have to, have succession planning done. Career mobility is important. So how are you designing the blueprint for L&D strategy at Piramal?
Actually, for us, our prime vehicle for learning is an institution called the Piramal Learning University. So it is quite academic, interestingly academic. It has various schools, schools of technology, schools of IT, school of HR, school of quality, school of finance. So our approach is to, the Piramal Learning University has these various schools which each have a focus area. Each school is headed by a so-called dean who comes from the business. They are subject matter experts who not only design the curriculum but are also looking at how the curriculum should spread, what should people learn, how they learn it, and also our teachers. So I think that's our overall approach to learning through the Piramal Learning University, and today it has 2 avatars. We are online through the virtual campus, and also we have face-to-face programs. Thankfully, after COVID, that has changed. But one good thing was that the Piramal Learning University virtual campus got a huge boost during COVID, and people adopted virtual learning so well.
Before we wind up this conversation, I'd like to ask you, what 2 trends do you think are majorly going to stand out for HR in the next 2 years?
I think first, we touched upon it a little bit, is the use of generative AI in HR, how to enhance our processes. I think the second is in terms of decision making, very extensive use of data analytics, and I would say dashboards, because far too long many times people feel that HR decisions are taken intuitively. So those are the 2 I would say.
Interesting. Any closing thought, Vikram?
Overall, for a company like Piramal, I would say that whether it is our businesses in the pharma side, which we are growing globally, or our India-based businesses in financial services, I would think it's a great time to be here and experience the growth. And we're very fortunate that we are experiencing growth through a very value-centric approach, especially when you consider what's happening in some of the startups and other places outside, where you grow very rapidly and then suddenly have to burn out and have to lay people off. We're very proud to say, because of our value system, even when we did a very large acquisition, not a single person was laid off during the DHFL acquisition.
You've given me smashing answers. I want to make it a little more challenging for you. So we have a rapid fire round, and I hope this round makes you literally sweat. You're ready, Vikram?
Sure.
First question, your leadership style in 3 words.
Accessible, stretching people, and tech at the core.
One impression that the world has about HR and you would like to change that.
That anybody can do HR. Whereas I think HR is a specialist field, and we're so proud and glad that a lot of people with HR with specialization are coming through.
The best thing about being a CHRO in 2023?
Well, the best thing is to see change, winds of change coming. I think, quite honestly, the businesses are changing, business models are changing, and therefore, the dance between the balcony and the dance floor, I love that, because you are at the balcony to see what are the winds of change, and then suddenly you run to the dance floor to actually make the change and make everybody else also change according to the mood and what's happening.
And that's agility. How did you like to learn?
By reading books and watching YouTube videos.
If you could go back to school, what would you do differently?
I would definitely learn an instrument and maybe play more basketball.
What is that one thing you wished you had more time for?
Certainly reading and maybe financial planning. I'm a bit of a passive financial planner. I would love to spend more time.
One piece of advice you would like to give to freshers starting their HR careers?
I think two things. One is have a 2-year goal. So break up your life into 2-year quanta. So every 2 years, just have goals for 2 years, then another 2 years. So that's one thing I would definitely say. And the second is embrace technology. Don't introduce anything without technology.
Some inspiring role models you have in your life?
My father and my maternal grandfather for the values, and I would say our chairman, Mr. Piramal, for the way he blends spirituality and business.
So talking about spirituality, how do you find inner peace?
My inner peace comes from giving. I've never found joy in receiving, but a lot more in giving. So whether it's financial help or non-financial help.
Lastly, what makes Vikram interesting?
That I'm a foodie. I love eating. I love talking about food, and I also have a catalog of all the good places to eat in any city that I've been.
So thank you, Vikram, for being here and taking part in the CHRO Club conversation. I had actually a lot to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you for having me.